And then we got to the largest of the announcements, the iPhones, again this year, two base models, and then the Pro models. Yeah, initial thoughts on the base models.
So, as we saw at WWDC, Apple with iOS 18 is completely focusing on bringing Apple AI, basically Apple intelligence, you can say, to its devices across the ecosystem. But with iPhone 16, they are the first devices to get Apple intelligence and are designed ground up, right from silicon software to services, to bring in Apple intelligence and kickstart the AI era for Apple. So Apple has done a remarkable job with upgrades with iPhone 16. So iPhone 16 is powered by Apple A18. They have gone away with the Bionic term. So the A18 Apple Silicon chip, right, is built ground up, designed for Apple Intelligence and generative AI, running generative AI models. So they have a 16-core NPU, a 5-core GPU, and a 6-core CPU with 4 efficiency cores and 2 performance cores. And this with larger memory bandwidth as well, and I think upgraded DRAM as well to support multiple models, generative models on the edge. And Apple is taking a hybrid approach for the Apple Intelligence. So a lot of things will be done on device, but also will be done in on the cloud, especially Apple private compute cloud, where they will run all the extra larger queries or inferencing for the matter of sake, and will be done completely privately. Nothing will be stored on the compute, and nothing will be stored by Apple. So everything, the entire positioning is more of privacy centric. So Apple iPhone 16 basically is driving that at the base, and we also see with iPhone 16, Apple has also upgraded a lot of cameras with newer features. So, any features you want to talk about?
Yeah, the blocking tackling, it's 6.1 inch base model, 6.7 inch for the Plus model. I think the biggest newness was this capacitive action button for the camera. So it's very intuitive. Neil and I got to use it yesterday, being able to zoom and all the camera functionality, single hand usage. Yeah, I think that's a significant upgrade, and I think users will, even if you're not, a camera aficionado, very simple to use. I think you'll get great benefits out of it.
Absolutely. The camera control, I think, is a quite differentiated feature, and it brings the visual intelligence part to it, where it blends the hardware, software, and intelligence together.
Yeah.
And some of the examples which Apple showcased was just point and shoot and try to search or recover information about that particular subject, right? And we have seen that with in your Nokia days with Nokia City Lens, like a decade ago, more than a decade ago, right? And now it is coming because now we have more powerful software services as well as silicon, right, to compute those on the fly. And we also have a lot of repository, and where Apple is partnering with like Google for search, with OpenAI for anything like a math solution to solve those, right? And it's up to users what data they want to share, and they have the full control, right? So with respect to the camera, I agree. Camera control with a new button, I think it's a big upgrade in terms of the hardware design and the functionality, right? Blending in hardware, software, and AI together.
Yeah, I think these use cases will be powerful. It was noted on the AI front that you will get suggestions. Apple knows a lot. The majority of their base need to be educated on these, and so I think there'll be a lot of suggestions that will pop up that will help users take advantage. The use case, very practical, that Apple demonstrated was take a picture of this restaurant you're in front of. You immediately get reviews, menu, be able to order. So very practical use cases. Use Apple Pay to buy things, so they can even double dip. But yeah, I think these use cases will really start to ramp and get more hard hitting. But we're early into these AI applications, so I do think Apple at least held serve at worst, and yeah, we'll see what the next generations bring.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And on that point on Apple Intelligence, also what I would like to add is what they're trying to do on the device as well. And we sh- we were showcased by Apple in WWDC what all different Apple Intelligence features they're bringing to Mail, to the first party apps first to Apple, and then with App Intents framework they want to integrate into a broader ecosystem. And the and what it does right now with Apple Intelligence and iPhone 16 base and even the 16 Pro models is it takes Siri to a next level.
Yep.
So it's the Siri 2.0, I would say, and it can do multimodal conversation at the same time. Also, uh, do a lot of functionalities right from uh, translation as well, a real-time translation to just text writing, and it can convert into a calendar invite for you, right? And at the same time, the Siri 2.0 right now supports just English language, US English,
Yeah.
and they're rolling out by December. Uh, more English-speaking countries like Australia, UK, New Zealand, and beyond that, next year would be more Asian countries with China, Japan, Korean language supported.
Yeah.
Like to see more when Apple supports the Apple Intelligence and Siri with more Indian languages, right? We have, as you know, more than 15 plus languages, and how it can localize Siri, right, to a particular region is going to be the main differentiator for Apple Intelligence, right? And also with respect to the private cloud compute, right now they are expanding into multiple regions because wherever the request is being sent to from Apple for any Apple Intelligence type features, and if it cannot be done on device, then it will go to private cloud compute, right? And Apple needs to have those private cloud compute across different regions, maybe almost across every countries or a central region, right? But at the same time, it will open up to a lot of issues with respect to data sovereignty and different laws and regulations for AI in different countries, right? So, like in India, they will have to have a dedicated Apple private compute, and how Apple can scale those private cloud compute across, and it's going to be costly, right? The biggest question we are getting here is Apple going to charge for Apple Intelligence, right? Right now, Tim Cook said that it's going to be free for 1 year at least. So we'll have to see whether Apple charges and how does it recover the cost for the Apple private cloud compute, all the generative models training, right? So it's going to be an interesting business model variation for Apple with services revenue.
Yeah, that's a great point. Certainly, and it's a big cost for Apple, and they'll have to recoup that eventually. But I guess they will, yeah, really try to seed the base and get the use cases a little more supported. Maybe a bit on the US centric side. There was a lot of angst that the prices would be raised. $799 for the base model remains the same. There is millimeter wave support, which will make the US carriers happy. Also, the largest promos we've seen for Apple's out the gate. $1,000 back from iPhone 12 or newer device. Yeah, there was some talk of maybe reduced subsidies from the carriers, but larger than ever. So maybe AI isn't the driver. Boy, these promos with the large installed base of both the 12 and the 11 still in the US, that in itself could really help Apple and get a meaningful Q4.
So in terms of Apple 16 Pro, what stood out for you with respect to base Apple iPhone 16?
Yeah, and it's a little difficult because the Pro models, have all the same AI applications and that scale downwards. But for the camera aficionados, I guess that's what's going to drive consumers up. And we have seen over the past 3 years this slow but steady higher percentage of devices on the Pro models. That differentiation on the camera probably will continue that, not by large amounts, but by small incremental amounts. And then I think there was a benefit for at least the carriers and the component players had a sigh of relief that Apple didn't raise prices on the Pro models.
Actually, it's reverse, right? If they would have increased the price, then they could have charged more for the components. But if they have not increased, that means more pressure on the suppliers to squeeze out, for Apple to squeeze out the dollars, right? And with respect to the camera on the 16 Pro, one thing which stood out was the 4K 120 FPS and how you can slide across from 120 FPS to the slowest, like 30 FPS. I think that was quite a very pro feature for Apple in terms of iPhone 16 Pros. So I think that was stood out, and the design language was again very premium with the colors they have chosen and the materials, the titanium grade 5. So
and now a 6.9 inch, the largest display Apple's ever had. And when we looked at it, aesthetics, weight, couldn't really tell the difference. Bevels, still continual improvement there. So bigger real estate for the display, but
they could squeeze in bigger battery, right? Because of that, because of the real estate, and also they had a complete redesign antenna designed for better cellular performance as well, and even the heat dissipation because of the AI, right? And that was the reason for having a bigger surface area, and for that they had to go for a bigger display. But it's fascinating to your point that they have not increased the prices. So someone is getting squeezed here, some of the suppliers. But let's see how Apple choose to monetize the AI. And in future, maybe they could increase the prices as they have a bigger base of AI integrated into the applications, third-party applications, and people are used to it, right? And they cannot go back because the entire AI premise, which Apple is more focused on the personalized context as well, right? Which we believe is a crux point for Apple in terms of locking in the users. Because if you have a personalized context model, which is being trained over the years, right? It's going to be very difficult for anyone to switch from iPhone to Android because you cannot take your model to Android. It won't work, right? And as the model gets bigger and knows about you more, about what you are asking, what you are searching, what you are using in terms of applications, services, it becomes more intelligent, and which is tuned to the Apple ecosystem, right? So it's going to be a great feature for Apple in terms of locking in users. Earlier, they used to have iCloud or backups or the watch or AirPods being one of the features for locking in users. But I think Apple Intelligence is the thing which will lock in users.
Final comment on the Pro models. For the gamers, the performance, it has improved ray tracing performance. They have a $0.10 gaming exclusivity. Since it's the majority or over 50-ish% of Apple Store revenues, having the gaming story on the hardware side is very important for Apple.
Absolutely. And that is what differentiates the Pro models from the base models, right? But if you look at the upgraders, what you talked about, the 11, 12s of the world, it's a significant upgrade for them, and also embarking on the AI journey, right? Along with good hardware, great silicon, as well as software and services. Most of them are available. As you said, the difference between the Pro models and the base models have reduced slightly than before. So it's great.
Thank you.